Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
I'm Scott.
I'm John.
And we're married. And I have had that kind of day all day where I don't know who I am or where I am. And I keep messing things up.
You are my husband.
Okay.
We are in Minnesota.
Okay.
We're recording a podcast.
Okay.
We good?
I think so.
Okay, good.
So it's been 3 weeks again since our last episode, which is pretty good. Considering last weekend I was terribly ill with a cold. And prior to that, all right. So we are dog sitting currently, and for our friend Steve, and his dog Joey is here. So now there are 2 dogs and 2 cats in our house, and it's a little chaotic.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, but we'll manage through it.
Sorry, he's trying to eat shoes.
So last weekend I was pretty sick, but prior to that we were in Mexico.
That is true.
And so I bought some really fun new clothes for Mexico, and they didn't arrive until after we were back. So I'm debuting one of my vacation shirts because I didn't. Okay, all right. So we've had a few starts and stops here. We are, I think, yeah. So yeah, we got all the dogs and all the cats. Yeah, ready, set, go. We got all the dogs and the cats situated. Yep. So I have not had a chance to review the comments from the last episode, but I was just looking at them here briefly, and looks like some really awesome comments.
Mostly about Junior.
Well, no, there's stuff about the Berkebiner and all kinds of awesome comments. Cool. So we'll hopefully get to those and comment and interact with you guys on those. But so today we have some knitting stuff to show. I have a finished project and a new. No, it's not a new whip. It's a restarted whip. They need a term for that, like where you start and then you frog it and then you start over. You know, I didn't frog it. I just started.
A re-whip?
A re-whip. That's what it's called. A re-whip. And then what do you have for knitting?
I've got 2 works in progress.
Okay. And then we've got our movie review.
Yes.
Which will be at the end. So.
What are you drinking?
Oh, yeah. So. We're in the midst of our old-fashioned era.
That is true.
So, John has become the master of making bourbon old-fashions. Cheers.
Cheers.
And for those of you who aren't familiar, it's basically bourbon, simple syrup, bitters.
A cherry, and a twist of orange.
Yeah. So it's mainly bourbon.
Yeah.
But it's my favorite drink currently. And John and I, mainly John, have been doing the anniversary gifts where each year we do either the traditional or the contemporary. And John is like 4 years ahead of me. There's like 4 years I haven't done. We've only been married for 6, so... Anyway, the most recent year was copper, and he got these amazing glasses. It's actually a glass and a decanter and 2 glasses. Or is it 4 glasses? 2 glasses.
2 glasses.
And it has an actual copper band around it. But they're perfect for our old fashions. And then my Aunt Helen got us. You can't really. Well, you can't.
I took a picture.
Oh, you did? Oh, cool. So these amazing ice cubes, which. This cocktail has the 1 large ice cube in it, traditionally. So that's what we're drinking. Let's talk a little bit about Mexico.
Sure. We went to Mexico 2 weeks ago for a week. Went to Puerto Vallarta, and it was super fun. We had a really nice time. Went to the beach, got sunburned, ate really good food.
Yeah, the restaurants there are, I mean, they're good, but in addition to that, there's some really interesting, or I don't know how you describe it. It's not like a regular old, restaurant on the beach. I mean, there's some really, I don't want to say the word fancy, but because they're just very interesting and doing a lot of really cool things and making, I mean, there was one place we went to, was like a mezcal themed restaurant, and that was kind of what they centered around, but the cocktails, each cocktail was served in like this bizarre, like what was talk
So,
about?
like, for example, I got a drink that was smoked. So what they did is they put it in this, like, glass terrarium thing, and they smoked it, shut the door, and then said whenever you think you're ready to drink it, you can open the door and take your drink out. It was super fun. I think we might have a picture of that, too.
Yeah, I think so.
So,
And then our friend Steve had one where the cocktail was like in a little container. It was like a flowering pot kind of thing, and then he had to pour it through it looked like a still, but like a spiral corkscrew pipe into his glass, and it was
super fun.
But the food there, on the top of that, the food was amazing. But so yeah, so we went snorkeling.
I went parasailing.
John went parasailing for the first time. We
saw whales.
Saw humpback whales. We hung out with Jenny the sea lion.
She was very cute.
Yeah, so we just had a lot of fun. We stayed in the romantic zone, and we stayed in a kind of what they referred to as like an old style. Was it old style or older?
Older hotel, yeah.
Yeah, it was an older hotel, but it was like how the hotels were more, or when Puerto Vallarta started to become. This is what the hotel told us, and what I read about the hotel is that when Puerto Vallarta started to become a destination, a lot of the hotels were like this, where it was kind of like a small hotel with a courtyard and then a pool in the courtyard, and so it was that kind of place. And now they've got big high rises and all that, but yeah, it was a great time. And I've always kind of like, I think we talked about this before. My idea of a vacation, or our idea of a vacation, is not laying by the pool or laying by the beach for a week and just like drinking cocktails and laying around. We like to do adventure type vacations, but
we made it work.
Well, I totally understand why people go to Mexico, because it's just kind of a cliche for people from Minnesota. I mean, you go down to Mexico and it's like half the people there are from Wisconsin or Minnesota.
All right.
So just because it's so cold here. So we're definitely going to be doing that again.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, we snuck in some knitting. We did knit. We were knitting on the beach in Mexico. And in Puerto Vallarta, at least this part of the beach, it's not set up for like an open space and you can put down your blanket and hang out. It's more set up with chairs and umbrellas associated with the hotels, and then you rent a chair for the day. And so we went to a hotel, a resort called the Blue Chairs, and that was where we got our chair. And so we got to be pretty chummy with our server, because it's the same server. You have the same server like all day long. And at some point, we had our knitting out after several drinks, and he's like, "You remind me of my abuela," sitting there with the knitting. We're like, "Leave us alone!" But it was very funny. So we did get some knitting done.
Yep.
And yeah. So do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
You got two. I've got two.
Yeah.
I'll go first.
Okay.
So I'll start with my Mexico beach knit. So this is, what is it? This is the Bounce Blanket by TinCanKnits. Making it for some friends of ours, just a baby. And it's Berroco Vintage is the yarn. And so it's pretty simple pattern. You do each of these stripes in different colors. And this is the one where I'm doing basically randomly picking using dice which color comes next. Because I didn't want to have it's rainbow colors, but I didn't want to have a rainbow blanket. But I think this actually kind of worked out really well. I mean, obviously you don't do two in a row, but I just rolled for the last one. I rolled a 6, and that was a 3, and that was yellow because it's Roy G. Biv without the indigo. So yeah, liking it. It's a really easy thing to knit on. And the original pattern says 21 stripes, but I think I'm going to do 25 because that'll give me 4 repeats of each one, and then I'll finish off with like maybe the red right here was the first stripe, and so maybe finish off the red if that's not right there. But yeah, so it's about this is, I think, stripe 13.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13. Yes,
13.
13.
So it's pretty much halfway done. A little over halfway
Cool.
done. So yeah, so it's going to be a crib blanket for our friends, just a baby, little baby Felix. And yeah, and I'm going to have Scott weave in all my ends because I hate doing that. And he enjoys it.
I do.
So yeah. But yeah, pretty easy to knit. It's almost, I can almost do it watching TV, but it has to be kind of TV I don't pay attention to.
So what causes the, like, is it knit togethers and yarn overs, or like what causes the...
Yeah, it's basically yarn overs, and then you're doing knitting stitches together, and that creates the pattern. And
so you're doing
waves.
increases and decreases as you, like, different types of increases and decreases.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Cool. Ta-da! Yeah.
very fun.
And what size weight is the yarn?
I don't know.
Well, the reason I ask is because, you know, knitting a blanket just kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies just because knitting goes slower than crochet.
Yeah,
But it's DK, it says DK or worsted.
Yeah, I think this is actually worsted, but I'm not sure. Let me see if I have a ball band in here somewhere.
This is DK. It says, this is Tanis Fiber Arts yellow label DK.
Yes, but that's not what I'm knitting with.
Oh.
I am knitting with
You're using
Berroco Vintage, which is 218 yards for 200
per 100 grams.
For 100 grams. So I think that's either a DK or worsted.
Okay.
I think it's worsted.
Yeah. So you're doing the Berroco Vintage is the yarn you're using. Okay.
So yeah, and I'm interested, like, again, I think it's so it's not really, it's an acrylic wool and nylon blend. So what I'm curious about is how much it'll grow when I block it.
I wouldn't think.
I don't think very much. So that was I was a little worried about going big because I'm like, oh, I'll block it and it'll be actually a blanket for a bed, but I think we'll be okay.
And I don't know that you need to quote unquote block it. I think you just need to wash it like in Dreft.
Oh yeah,
and then
just dry it. Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
And then.
Oh yeah, because it's a baby blanket.
It's a baby blanket, yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna want it to be so that they can easily wash it and dry.
Right. Exactly. So
okay.
So yeah.
Cool.
Ta-da.
Cool.
So yeah.
And you enjoy knitting that, don't you?
Yeah. Basically, my goal is, and this is trying to do maybe a stripe every 2 days or something like that, and that's pretty easy to do.
Okay.
So. I do want to get it done probably sooner rather than later because it is for a baby. But I mean, he's going to be a baby for a little while. He was born in mid-February.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So he's only 6 weeks old.
Yeah. So he's got a little while before he gets too big for this.
Cool. So since you did that one, I'm going to do my work in progress instead of my finished object because I'm knitting something for the same baby, for Felix as well.
Oh my gosh.
So I showed this last time. And I'm laughing because like I said, I haven't read all the comments from the last episode. I have to believe there's someone in the comments that's familiar.
Who was like,
who's familiar with the Mr. Bakery Bear pattern, and is like, girl, honey, what are you doing?
Molly girl, you in danger.
Is it Molly?
Yeah. From
Molly,
Ghost?
you in danger, girl.
Something like that.
Why doesn't Molly sound right? Anyway, so I'm like, this just doesn't feel right. I feel like I have 1,000 stitches on the needles for this little teddy bear head that I'm doing. So, last episode, I had started the head.
But it was actually but you thought it was the body.
I thought it was the body, but I think by the end of the conversation in last episode, I figured out it was actually the head. Then, when I sat down this weekend to work on it, I'm like, this just... Oh, I know what it was. I did the first round of decreases. And it said... And the pattern is extremely well written.
Right.
If you're paying attention. I've knit it before. That's why I think in the last episode, I'm like, this just doesn't look right. So I did the first round of decreases, and it says, it does a very good job of, do these decreases, and then this is how many stitches you'll have at the end of this. Well, I had like twice the number of stitches I was supposed to have, and I'm like...
And you weren't doing it two times to
I'm like, something is not right. And, well, even if you were doing it 2 times the size, you'd have to do it with... I mean, it's a stuffed animal, so you'd have to do it with...
Right.
I mean, I'm sure somebody could figure out the math of doubling the pattern, but you'd have to do it with the yarn and the needles that you're doing rather than doubling the stitches. So I ripped it all out and started over and realized that I had done the wrong number of stitches. But I have the head done, and I'm onto the body. So... the pattern is the Mr. Bakery Bear by Kay Jones from the Bakery Bears podcast. They're in England. One of the first podcasts that I ever started watching and got me interested in knitting. And my mom, Betty Ann, showed me. This was one of the first ones she ever showed me. So, I'm going to pull this out here. So, this is the yarn that I'm using for the body of the teddy bear. And everything is making so much more sense now. This is you probably can't see it very well, but this is the top of the body. And you can see there's this round opening here. That's where the head attaches. So this is the top. Or maybe, no. I think that's the bottom and then the legs attach here. Doesn't matter. It's correct. And so I don't remember what that blue yarn is. I want to say it's Malabrigo Rios, though. Like, if you look at it, don't you think that looks like Malabrigo Rios?
I can't say whether... I don't think it is.
You're supposed to say yes, honey.
I don't think it is.
No, you say yes, honey.
I don't think it is.
Okay, whatever. It's Malabrigo Rios. And then... I've got all this other yarn in here that I showed last time that I'm going to be using for the clothes and all that kind of stuff. So this is the head.
So cute.
And I'm happy with how it's stuffed. I have a tendency to understuff things, especially like Christmas ornaments. I had a round of Christmas ornaments one year that I understuffed and they looked like potatoes. They were supposed to be balls. The one thing I will say, though, is that it's that fine line between understuffing and overstuffing, and so you can see on the bottom where I think this is the decreases. You can see a little bit of the stuffing showing through, but the
top is fine.
I think...
Because it doesn't matter what...
It doesn't really matter. It's a homemade bear. But, like, I can also kind of, like, whip stitch or mattress stitch this closed maybe a little. But I'm not worried about it.
Felix is just going to be like, this garbage.
Yes, I'm sure he will. But this is the teddy bear head. This is the teddy bear body. I love knitting this pattern. And I'm also doing it a little out of order because after the head, you're supposed to make the ears and attach the ears and all that, but I wanted to get the big pieces out of the way and then do the ears last and the nose and do all the small stuff last.
Yeah.
Because it just makes you feel like you're making good progress to get the legs and the arms and the body and the head and all that done. Then he has let me check real quick. I gotta remember. He has a sweater, and then he has pants.
Right.
And I think what I'm going to... Which are completely removable. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit the sweater, and it has like a cable pattern on the front, but I'm going to do what I did when I've done this pattern before and just do a flat... Not do the cable pattern, but instead put Felix's name on the sweater.
Yeah, that'd be cute.
So, So I think I'll probably do the sweater in this and do like his name in black or brown. Maybe brown. Maybe I'll do it in brown and then do the inside of the ears in the same brown.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That would go well with that.
Yeah. Because this is kind of a... this is...
Urban Girl Yarn.
Urban Girl Yarns, and it's Boston is the colorway. It's a DK yarn. No, I'm sorry. I did this last time. The colorway is Kaleidoscope. The base is Boston. This
Right.
is our Boston DK base, but it's
Yeah.
what is SWM? It's 100% SWM. Something merino.
Something's, yeah.
SWM. I'm sure
Superwash merino.
Superwash merino. I'm sure people are screaming at the podcast. But yeah, I think this will go well with this body. And then the pants I'll probably do
With that crazy.
with this crazy.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah. So then that'll be super cute.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, so that's Mr. Bakery Bear, and I'm having fun. That's what I'm trying
And he's
to...
100% remnants.
He is 100% remnants. Yes, except for I'll have to buy, unless I can find some brown DK that we already have, I'll have to buy a little bit of brown DK.
Yeah.
But you can probably find brown DK.
I would
like for what's the yarn store in the old firehouse?
Stephen B.
Stephen B has.
Yeah, I would look at. I mean, because you'd only need like this much, right? I bet if you look into a little vase full of like mini remnants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we might. Yeah, some. The problem is our remnants have gotten to be so much that it's even hard to look through the bins of remnants.
Right.
But if I can't find some brown, I can find something. I was going to say Stephen B probably has a brown in his sale area.
Right. Or you could do, if you found a fingering weight, you could hold it double, and that would do it too.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know if you remember it would work really well.
I mean, I don't know that you and I have ever, I don't know that I think we've maybe knit 2 or 3 projects with bulky at the most, like if ever.
Yeah.
And so pretty much any yarn that I find in that bin that's brown, the right color, I'm going to be able to use.
Right.
Whether it's fingering, I can hold it double, DK worsted, it's just the inside of the ears.
Yep.
So, what were you going to say?
No, I was thinking like I did those socks, the Argyle socks I never finished for you. There's that really, it's a fingering weight, it's like a magenta, which might look really good on that too.
Okay.
But I think there's a brown in there too. We'll look.
Yeah.
So
that's my Mr. Bakery Bear.
very cool.
And I printed the pattern out and lost it.
Yeah.
No idea where it is.
I swear to God, like I saw it, I've seen it, but
that's what it is.
Thank goodness for printers, right?
Right.
Excellent. All right. So our patterns are our projects are very complementary because baby thing, and we both have socks.
And we both have socks, yeah.
So this is all the stuff that I was knitting last time, and I'm working on one more project. It's the Acadia hat from the knitting.
That would work.
You can't use this until I'm done with the socks, though, because I don't know how much it's going to take.
I know, just teasing.
So I'm also doing that knitting the Acadia hat from Knitting the National Parks, but I've really just done the cast on in the brim. So
and for anybody who hasn't seen that, that's a book that you bought
Yep.
by...
We talked about it last time.
I know, but people might not
No,
have seen it.
I'm saying look into the show notes. It's in our show notes last time.
Knitting the National Parks by... It's in women's clothing on Amazon. I don't think that's right.
Well,
Knitting the National Parks by Nancy
Bates.
That's right.
So yeah. And basically I'm going to try to kind of work my way through that book, and Acadia is the first one, so I'm doing that. And I basically just cast, I've got 2 inches of...
Oh, I didn't know you'd cast... Oh, yes, I did know that.
Yeah.
Yes, I did know that.
I don't know if I don't even know, I think I casted on... I can't remember if I'd done it, if I'd showed that cast on, but it's just a cast on.
I think you did, but I can't remember.
Can't remember either. So anyway, neither here nor there. We're not talking about it. We won't talk about
That's
that today.
beside the point.
It is beside the point. So what
In the past.
What I'm working on now, and I'm making really good progress. This is the Hazelfern Lace and Cable Socks. It's by Jared Flood. It's from Brooklyn Tweed, and I'm doing it. It comes in a big size as well. I'm doing the larger size for Scott's dad's wife, Shannon. And here I am. I am almost done. I don't know if you can see this. We'll do maybe do a video of this. But I'm almost done with the gusset decrease. So it's this pattern right here. And then it has this really cool, again, I don't know if y'all can see this, but we'll take some little videos. It has this really great, the way the heel flap, I don't know what to call it. What is this? This is the heel flap.
The heel flap, the heel turn.
So
and the gusset.
There's a setup for the heel flap, which is really, really cool. Because so in most heel flaps, you sort of start out immediately with the slip stitch, which creates a sort of ribbing almost pattern. And this one, they start the setup to sort of come out of this stuff. It's really, really cool.
I'm really hoping that I can see I would love to take this heel and start doing it with my socks. Mm-hmm. The only problem is I don't know if it's written in such a way that I can incorporate it into...
I think you could, because it's basically, once you get to where the heel flap starts, you would just sort of figure out what the triangle would look like. I don't know. You could probably do it.
I just think it's the coolest heel I've ever seen.
Yeah, I really like it. I mean, it's like... Jared Flood does really cool things with texture, and this is very much so. So yeah, I'm really liking this. Again, just finished the heel turn and almost up the gusset. And so yeah, I have this much left to go, which I think will be enough to finish it.
Because it's a ball for each sock.
Yes, yes.
And how much? It's 50 grams
I don't know.
on each ball. I've got our scale here, so why not?
I mean, it should...
You've got 21 grams left.
Oh, yeah, so we're good. I think it's 50 grams. I would assume so.
I
Materials, 2 skeins of 278 yards of fingering weight wool yarn.
Yeah.
So, and I assume... Because I bought this...
50 grams right there.
Yeah, right. So I bought this at a Brooklyn Tweed event, so I'm assuming that the yarn... Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I know. I'm just saying...
Brooklyn Tweed Fury, like, they gave you enough.
Yeah.
So, and there's like a little weird... I don't know what happened here. Something... I don't know if you can see that quite well, but there's something went wrong right here. But I think it'll block out.
It's a feature.
It's a feature. And, like, if it also, think about it's going to be on a leg. So, I just do not know.
It's like
everything shifted and then shifted back or something.
Yeah.
Because the other side's just fine.
It's like this isn't enough.
Yeah, like I didn't do the cable right or something like that. Or probably what happened is I was doing the cable, I dropped some stitches, tried to fix it, and just made a disaster. Yeah. So that is generally...
and yelled curse words at the top of your lungs.
I don't think so. I think I might have been on a plane when it happened. So I probably was a little watched myself. But yeah, again, it's a really fun pattern. The one thing which is tough... So... when you're doing, so normally it's just so this section right here is just kind of a repeat for the first little bit. So the front and the back are the same. But when you start doing the heel flap, this is different. And so this nice little 32 stitch repeat becomes a 64 stitch repeat.
Oh.
And, I needed like cheaters for my cheaters. It was like I'm not going to show the pattern because
because
clearly
it's a bot pattern.
A bot pattern. But I was like, good Lord, how?
I have scanned in patterns, blown them up on the computer, and printed them out before.
For sure. But again, if it was, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But I was still like, it just makes me wonder. Like, I feel like, were my eyes always this bad? No, they are not. They've gotten worse. But yeah. But I'm really, it's like funny. I'm not a big sock knitter.
Shannon's gonna freak out when she sees these.
I know. They're so cool.
Yeah.
And she asked, like, there's a short version of the long version. She asked for the long version. And she apologized when she did. But I was like, you know what? It'll be fine. So
she's gonna freak out.
Yeah. And they're really cool because they live in Florida, and so these aren't gonna be the warmest socks in the world because there's lots of places for wind to go through. But that's okay. There's
also known as holes.
As holes. Pattern holes.
Lots of places for wind to go through. That's a very
poetic way of saying it. But yeah, and it's fun. So like there's a couple of things that are, this little part right here is a whale stitch, which is a really, really kind of fun stitch. And then, this is really fun. So for the gussets, I don't know if this is made up, but I feel it's probably not. They don't do like knit, you know, slip two together or slip knit. They do what's called a fashion decrease. I'm like, oh, girl. It's a left-leaning fashion decrease. It's so fancy. Which is, it basically...
You know, Gerald Flood and his friends were sitting around. He's like, let's call it a fashion decrease.
I mean, you know, if they... and it's basically you take 2 stitches, put them on a cable needle, and then knit them together with the stitches before or after them. Which is not, like, a hard thing, but it makes a very different...
It's very pretty.
The decrease looks really different.
It's very fashionable.
It is a fashion decrease. Or an increase. I guess it's not an increase. But I guess it goes to... Yeah. But I feel like a fashion increase sounds sexier. Girl, it's a fashion increase. Fashion decrease sounds like, oh, you bought it at Marshall's and it's a fashion decrease. Girl, well, it's a left-leaning fashion.
Do we need to take a break for a cocktail refresh?
We can. I'm not quite done with mine. Why don't...
All right, so...
Wait.
The answer to that is no. What?
Do you think it's time for a cocktail
I just
refresh?
asked that. And you said no. Off camera, he said no.
Well,
because he's not done with his yet.
I'm not quite done with
Okay,
mine.
let's keep going then.
Which is funny because you've been talking more.
Oh, you know what? We'll have an intermission in between the knitting content and the movie content.
Right, because the movie content will be funnier if we're drunker.
Yeah, we're not drunk. It's just whatever.
Well, we're basically we're 2 ounces. We're almost 2 ounces of bourbon in as opposed to 3.5 to 4.
Right. So I'm going to talk about my socks now, and mine is a completed project. So here are my socks, my magenta, or actually they're technically fuchsia and black. I had completed this one last time, and I just, when I completed it, I cut the yarn, and then I picked back up right where I left off, where the yarn skein left off. So they're not exactly opposites, except that you can tell, like, this one has magenta at the top, fuchsia at the top, this one has black at the top, and then like this one has black on the toe, and this one has fuchsia on the toe. This one has kind of like a mix of black and fuchsia on the heel flap, and this one has mainly black on the heel flap. So anyway, they turned out awesome.
Are amazing. I think those might be your favorite, my favorite socks that you've knit for yourself.
Yeah. So
I really, really like them.
Yeah, they are. My sock pattern that I use, which is just a vanilla sock, and then the heel flap and gusset I use is from the Road City Rollers pattern.
Yeah.
But I've knit that 1,000 times. But if I can figure out how to incorporate that heel flap and gusset,
I don't think it'll be very hard, because basically you'd have to sort of think about like how many.
Well, I'll have to look at the pattern, but if there's a way to read the pattern so that I can understand which part of the pattern is the
Do you want to just
heel flap.
Yeah. So, oh god, it's in the super small part.
Well, it's in a chart, so
right. But this leads into basically it increases do a pyramid of slip stitches going right into the heel flap. I could just, instead of doing all this stuff, I could just do stockinette up to this part of the chart. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, that'll be fun. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely think you're a smart cookie.
I'll scan that in and blow it up so that
you can see it.
I can see it. Yeah, I have always had, not that I talk about this a lot, but I've always had better than 20/20 vision. And then I hit like 43, and that changed.
But you still have good far vision.
Yeah,
you just can't.
But now up close, I'm like, and I did. So I've been using these cheaters, which I think are like 0.5, 0.5 or 0.25 magnification. And did I tell you last night I was reading a book and I'm like, I need to go up. The cheaters weren't quite strong enough, so I might have to go up to like a 0.75 or a 1.
I think all mine are 1s though.
Yeah.
So I get 1s and 1.5.
Because the 1s were too strong for me when I started this.
Right.
Anyway, I'm falling apart. I'm
That's
going
okay.
downhill.
At least you had good vision. Good vision. Like I had good vision until I was 7. So, and then I had to wear.
Did they even know? Maybe you had bad vision before you were 7. You just didn't know it.
No, I think because I was actually. It was like very exciting. I was like very excited to get glasses, and so I don't know when they start testing your eyes, but yeah. But like my sister and my dad and I all have like terrible vision.
What about your mom?
Oh no, my brother, like Michael got the good eyes from my mom.
The Heenan eyes,
because like I don't think any of her siblings wore glasses until they to get the cheers.
Well, yeah, I mean neither my mom nor my dad did till they got older. So anyway,
life is not fair.
Love these. Very excited. So my next pair of socks that I'm going to knit, because I always have to be knitting socks, is... Oh, I'm sorry. Before I continue, I don't think we said this at the beginning, but I'm SweetTeaNoShade on YouTube, Instagram, and Ravelry. Mm. And I did put these projects in Ravelry. Mm. The yarn is the Chapevola brand Zauberball Stärke 6, which if you're American, it's like Starkey 6 with an umlaut over the A. So Stärke 6 line or base or whatever. It's not a Zauberball crazy,
which is Zauberball.
I said it was. It's a Stärke 6 is the line.
It's about Zauberball, like
kind of kooky.
Yeah, kind of kooky. Eccentric.
Eccentric. So, and the colorway is 2082 Charisma. I found that out. So nice. I wasn't really sure last episode. What's interesting is when I put this into Ravelry for the project, it came up as sport weight. Rather than fingering
That
weight.
Is not sport weight.
Well, I didn't think so either, but the original skein was 150 grams.
Uh-huh.
There is 27 grams left, which means I used 123 grams to knit a pair of socks. When I use fingering weight, I never use...
A full skein.
A full skein of 100 grams. So to knit the Zauberball socks, I knit 123 grams. So that makes me wonder if it... No, wait a second. I can't quite figure out why I used more than 100 grams. I mean, I'm sure it has something to do with this yarn.
Right. Maybe just a little bit thicker. Because what is the Zauberball normal? How much yardage is in a normal Zauberball?
150 grams. They're all 150 grams.
And how many yards? Or would they use these communist
400
meters?
400 meters.
So it's definitely heavier.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's definitely heavier.
So I would say it's probably somewhere between. It looks a little heavy. It's like
75%. Shirvola, strong quality superwash, and then 25% nylon.
Yeah, I mean
150 grams, 400 meters.
This doesn't look sport weight to me, but like, what do I know, right?
Yeah, it didn't look sport weight to. I mean, and I guess it really doesn't matter what they call it.
Right.
I guess it was just interesting to me that
it's like probably like heavy fingering. Is that a thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can put an adjective in front of anything. Okay, so my next pair of socks is going to be with another Zauberball Stärke 6. This one, which I think I showed before, this is kind of crazy. Like, it's got all kinds of crazy colors in it. And this one is colorway Parrot. Okay. All right, so Papagayi.
Oh, like
Papageno. Okay. Sorry. Realization. The Ferba.
This is
Farba.
literally our process live on TV.
Farbe, which means color in German, is 1701 Papagei, which means parrot. Because I was like, oh, it's parrot. But then Papagei, and we knew it was parrot because of the
Magic
German
flute.
opera Die Zauberflöte, the magic
Papageno.
flute with Papageno, the character Papageno, who's a bird. Okay. It's all
Ta-da!
ta-da. But I think I'm going to do this for somebody in the neighborhood.
Nate would love it.
Nate across the street.
No, Nate 2. Nate 1.
Nate 1.
Because he loves crazy color
I
stuff.
wonder what size shoe he wears.
It'd be easy to find out.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, this will be my next pattern.
Cool.
Or my next, but I'm not gonna put the fancy new heel in that since I haven't done it before. I'm just gonna do my traditional.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
You'll be done in like 5 minutes.
Right. Okay. That's our knitting con. Oh, one more thing. When we were in Mexico, I bought a project bag.
I mean, it's not really a project bag, but just a
Well,
bag.
it's not really a project bag, but it's going to be a project bag. But I saw it, and it has a cat on it, so I had to get it. And it was, not very expensive. And I know a lot of people haggle with the vendors, and I'm like, the price that she quoted me was, like, totally reasonable and affordable. So
Right.
I'm like...
I also believe in tourist tax.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I know that I can afford it, and... I'm sure it helps her out for me to take whatever price that she offers, and it was not I don't even remember what it was because it was in pesos and I couldn't do that in my head. But anyway, it's got some little pockets on the back, and it's got a nice satin lined. It's a nice satin
And it
lined
zips,
bag.
which is nice also.
And it zips,
which is good for a
And
house.
she kept having me do this. Try the zipper. I'm like, yes, it's a very good zipper.
Right.
So anyway, it's a really nice bag, and it's, like I said, it's got a kitty cat on the front.
And embroidery, and it's pretty.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to lose.
I will probably put the teddy bear pattern in there.
Oh yeah.
Because as the
As the pieces get bigger
pieces
and bigger.
get bigger and bigger, I'll just have teddy bear parts, like a head and a body and legs
Oh my god.
in there. So
Teddy bear massacre bag.
that is our knitting content.
Yay.
So now we will have an intermission while we refreshen our drinks.
Refreshen.
Kind of like you re-whip. And then when we return...
I think we just freshen our drinks.
Yeah, I was kidding. I mean, I wasn't kidding, but then I know that. I know
Okay.
as soon as I said it, I went, oh, he got the horn.
Yeah, that's good.
Sorry. Joey, the dog that's staying with us, is chewing on something that Harris never chews on, so that's helpful. Where is Harris?
He's
on the couch. Okay, so anyway, we're going to take a break. It won't seem like a break to you, but...
We do a star wipe.
Yeah. And then when we come back, we will talk about the movies that we watched.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
We are back.
We are back.
And I'm sorry, John, would you like to...
Well, I did all the...
We did all the work.
You know,
You did do
I don't
all
have a
the
degree. I don't have a degree in psychology, but I've done a lot of research. That's a
very niche
deep
reference.
cut. That's okay.
I don't know if anybody listens to the podcast.
No one
Cults.
Yeah, no, it's just a funny thing. So, for our movie segment, we are looking at the best movie as decided by the Academy Awards and the worst movie of a certain year. This is 2002. So, the 2003 Oscars and Razzies.
Right.
So that always gets very confusing.
Yes.
But so the winner for Best Picture in...
So I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Do they take the Oscars from January 1 through December 31
I think so. I think there's
of the year before?
Yeah, they have to be released, and then they do the awards in March.
Because what's that whole thing about awards? Oh no, that awards season is like when the award shows happen.
Yeah. That's why all this was like released in Christmas, because
Then it's fresh on the minds
Yeah.
of the... Okay, sorry. I've always wondered about that, so go ahead.
that makes it confusing.
It does.
So 2002. So movies released in 2002, which were awarded awards in 2003. The best picture that year was Chicago. And the worst picture was Swept Away. So thinking about these, we watched both these movies. So a couple things about them they have in common. They both have musical numbers in them.
Yes, they do.
And they're both adapted from source material from the mid-70s.
Interesting.
Exactly. So, Chicago is based on the 1975 musical, Chicago. And then Swept Away is based on a movie from 1974, an Italian film. The full name is Swept Away by an Unusual Destiny in the Blue Sea in August.
Oh, that's the full Italian title.
Full grand title.
I mean, but that's not the full title, the American version.
No. And the American version is just Swept Away. But
Gotcha.
it's based on Swept Away. So that was in 1974. So, a couple of fun things I found in my research. So, Chicago won 6 Oscars. It was the first...
Travolti da un insolito destino nell'azzurro mare
d'agosto. Exactly. So, Chicago won 6 Oscars. It was the first musical to win an Oscar since Oliver! In 1968. And the big ones it won were Best Picture and Best Supporting Actress. So it won Best Picture, and Catherine Zeta-Jones, who plays Velma Kelly, won Best Supporting Actress. The other movies that were nominated that year...
I'm sorry. Who, if Catherine Zeta-Jones was a supporting actress, who were the main actresses?
Renee Zellweger.
Just Renee Zellweger?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is a... So, in the musical, Bebe Neuwirth, Zahara Benet. So she was Velma Kelly, and she was nominated and won Best Actress in the Broadway revival. So
For which part?
Velma Kelly, the one that Catherine Zeta-Jones won.
So it was considered a main actress in the musical.
Yeah, and I think it's considered a main actress in the movie, but they decided to split the categories so they wouldn't cancel each other out.
What does that mean?
So, like, for example, in All About Eve, right? You have Margot Channing, who's played by Bette Davis, and Eve, who's played by Anne Sheridan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the 1950 Oscars, they nominated both actresses for Best Actress, and that split the votes.
Oh, so they nominated Renee Zellweger for Best Actress and Catherine Zeta-Jones for Best Supporting Actress, so that they wouldn't cancel each other out.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And,
is that common these days?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that controversial?
I mean, it's kind of, I think, as long as the actor is okay with it, I think it's okay. So yeah, because I would say they're both leads in my.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's why I asked.
Yeah. So like I think, like another picture that year was The Hours, which Nicole Kidman won Best Actress for that.
Was that the one with Catherine what was her name? What did you just say?
Nicole Kidman.
Was that the one with Nicole Kidman had the nose?
Yes, she played Virginia Woolf. But there's like 3 roles in that, and I think they're kind of equal roles, but she was nominated for Best Actress, but any of the 3 main roles could have been nominated for that.
Okay.
So that was fun. So it won Best Picture, Best Supporting Actress, and then the other Best Pictures of the year were Gangs of New York.
Nominees,
yeah. The Hours, The Pianist, which won Best Director.
Margaret prefers that you pronounce it The Pianist.
No, The Pianist. The Pianist.
My friend Margaret, the professor of collaborative piano, she doesn't like pianist because it sounds like penis.
So anyway,
prefers pianist.
So The Pianist, which won for Best Director Roman Polanski and Best Actor Adrian Brody, and then Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers.
Which, in your mind, should have won?
No.
Oh, really? You think Chicago was right to win? Or do you think one of the other ones should have won? You haven't seen The Pianist.
I have not seen The Pianist.
Such a good movie.
Yeah.
I will watch that movie again in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Who's the actor in there?
Adrian Brody.
Adrian Brody is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh, did he win Best Actor?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
So yeah, I mean, and I think it was a split because Roman Polanski has not the best history. Mm-hmm. And so there's an idea, usually when there's a split between Best Picture and Best Director, there's usually some sort of politics going on, and I think they wanted to give Roman Polanski Best Director, but they didn't want to give it Best Picture because, he's done stuff.
Well, it seems to me almost like it would have been the opposite. Like, did he direct The Pianist?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So it almost seems to me like recognize the movie, but don't recognize him as a director.
Yeah, but I mean, it's voting.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
I'm
so
just
like,
saying,
you would think that people.
Yeah.
Or I think also Rob Marshall was a pretty new director at this point, and so maybe they didn't want to give him a director's thing.
Is he the one that directed Chicago?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay.
So, let's see what else was interesting about the Oscar stuff. Nope. So yeah, the original budget was. Where did I write this down?
I can look it up.
No. I got it.
Okay.
So it was a budget of $45 million. It made $306 million.
Did you write it in code?
No, it's just my handwriting.
Oh, I see. Okay.
$306 million on a budget of $45 million.
Okay.
And yeah, that's kind of the research I did.
Goo 306 Miller.
Gross $306 million. Budget $45 million.
Crojit 45 Miller.
I have handwriting that I cannot read sometimes.
Oh, budget 45 million.
Yeah.
Okay. Goo 306 Miller. Crojit 45 Miller. Got it.
So the other thing is that the original musical came out in
Gays of New Hampshire.
Gangs of New York.
Oh, Gangs of New York. Okay.
Gays of New Hampshire. That sounds like an amazing film.
Oh, serial killer handwriting.
But it's interesting. So I've at one point I was really good about seeing all the Best Picture movies. So I've seen there were 5 nominees. I've seen 4 of them. That's
you mean
bad.
the nominees?
Yeah.
I've only seen The Lord of the Rings and The Pianist. I've not seen The Hours or Gangs of New York.
The Hours is so good.
I bet it is.
It's real good.
I bet it is.
Oh,
we have
a visitor.
We have a guest star.
So let's talk a little more about Chicago. Oh, so it was based, again, the original musical came out in 1975, which was directed by Bob Fosse, had Gwen Bearden and Cheetah Rivera in it. But this
makes a cameo in the movie.
I know.
You know.
I know. When I was I saw this in the theater. I saw this in the theaters, like opening weekend in New York City in the Ziegfeld Theater, and Cheetah Rivera has like one line.
Yeah.
And like she goes up and it's like, yeah, Cheetah Rivera! Oh my God, what a legend! It was
all the homosexual, all the New York homosexuals
were like, Cheetah Rivera, you're awesome. So, but original had Cheetah Rivera and Gwen Bearden in it. If you ever want to have if you have 7 hours to kill, there's a really amazing miniseries called Fosse Bearden or Bearden Fosse, which is about Gwen Bearden and Bob Fosse's relationship. They do talk a lot about Chicago.
Yeah, I remember you watching that. I watched parts of that with you.
Yeah, and Michelle Williams, not from Destiny's Child, the other one, is amazing in it.
Yes.
Yeah. Poor Michelle.
Poor Michelle.
But there was a 1996 revival, which is still running on Broadway. It's like the longest running American musical, longest running revival on Broadway, and that's what kind of made this happen. So,
the movie,
yeah, because they were going to make a movie. They would have made a movie. The original musical didn't do that well.
Right.
It did fine, but didn't run for 20.
However many decades.
Yeah,
no. Okay, yet again, Betty Ann is texting during the episode. What does she say?
Recording, ?
Was that a boo-boo, recording, or uploading? So when you were upstairs, I texted her to say that we're halfway done with recording the episode. Now she texts, was that a boo-boo, recording, or uploading? She's hastening us along.
Can't rush art. So anyway,
how do we get rid of her?
Ice flow.
Put her out on the ice flow.
Yeah.
Okay.
She wouldn't last long. She's from the South.
No, she'd be fine because she's hot all the time.
That's true.
She'd be like, oh,
thank
it's
God.
an ice flow. Okay.
So, that's kind of the little facts and figures. What did you think of Chicago?
Well, I'll talk about what it was like watching it again. Because I watched it when it came out originally.
Same here.
And I've seen it once or twice since then.
Okay. I don't think I've seen it since it was in the theaters.
Okay. So I've seen it once or twice since then, and then, or maybe not all of it, but I've seen like the
clips and stuff.
Well,
and
what's the scene where all of the
Cell Block Tango?
Cell Block Tango.
Yeah.
Like there's certain musical numbers that I've watched, maybe not the whole movie. I don't know why. Probably because I didn't have you to ask a million questions of. I didn't quite understand the plot when I watched it the first time.
Okay.
And I think that's because I thought that the original opening of the opening of the movie where Velma comes in with the gun,
right,
having killed her husband
and sister,
and her sister, and hides the gun in the dresser. I thought that she was covering for
Renee Zellweger.
What's that character's
Roxy.
name? Roxy. I thought they already had a relationship, and it was like a flashback.
Gotcha.
And I didn't pick up. I didn't quite understand that Velma Kelly was a murderer, and I also didn't. I'd spent some time reading about the movie, and where it came from, where the musical came from,
right.
And actually, I don't know if you came across this when you were looking things up, but the musical was based on that book. Play. And the play was written like in the 30s, right?
Yeah, so it was written by a journalist.
Contemporarily.
Yeah, so the original play was written by this woman who was a crime reporter in Chicago in the 20s.
I'm convinced that that's Miss Sunshine.
Maybe.
I just think that it would be cool if that was Miss Sunshine.
Yeah, and so and one of the things, so she wrote this play about like two women who actually murder. I mean, so Velma Kelly and Roxy Hart are based on two actually women who murdered their partners and were acquitted. And one of the reasons why they had a hard time getting the rights to the musical is the reporter, I think, was remorse.
You mean rights to the play? To do the musical?
Yeah, rights to the play. I think the woman who wrote the original play was like, yeah, it really sucked. These women were guilty and they got away with murder, and I was a part of that. So, like, she was writing about this, this sort of all these sensational trials in the 20s in Chicago, and she's like, yeah, I was a part of the sensationalism which ended up these women who were probably guilty. I mean, in the musical, they're guilty.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting to me about that is, first of all, that in the 20s, there were these celebrity defendants. I mean, we of course have that today.
Yeah.
Like with O.J. Simpson or Johnny Depp and Amber Heard or Gwyneth Paltrow and like all the different court cases. Of course, in all of those cases, those people were already celebrities. But then you've also got people like Betty Broderick or who were the twins that murdered their parents? The Menendez twins. Yeah. So, like, we have that in our society now, where there are these celebrities, especially with like court TV and stuff like that. I know we don't have court TV anymore, but now you have YouTube and TikTok. It sounds like in the 20s, these women were able to get acquitted through
publicity or
leveraging the public to feel bad for them or whatever. But it feels like in today's society, you see people like Betty Broderick and the Menendez twins or OJ or Amber Heard or Johnny Depp or whomever it is, and I feel almost like the public wants to see them found guilty.
But that's the whole thing. Like in Chicago, like she's found innocent and no one cares about her after that.
Right, but what I'm saying is the crowd wants to find her innocent because she's this poor woman that was forced into the situation. What I'm saying is, nowadays, people don't want the celebrities to be found innocent. They want them to be found guilty.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I would be interested to have a conversation with others about that. I'm not saying that that's a correct opinion. It just feels different to me.
Right.
Because we're more worried nowadays. We're more worried about polluting the jury and
Right.
all of that. But it sounds like back then it was like, woohoo, the jury could be swayed by what was happening in the newspaper.
Right. I don't think anyone they were sequestering juries in the same way that we do now.
Right.
But yeah, it's and I think what they always talk about, like, the reason why Chicago the musical didn't do well in 1975 as opposed to 1996 is what happened between 1975 and 1996. Like, we had this whole culture of celebrity trials in those 20 years.
So people understood more.
People understood, and it seemed less not distasteful, but, like, people didn't, like, the original show, but people are, like, really uncomfortable by it, right? The original, but, like, after, in 96, like, people are like, yeah, this is just kind of how things are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so, of course, the music is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the
Kander
composer? Kander Nebb, that's right. So, and what else has Kander Nebb done?
Cabaret, The Rink.
Yeah, so anyway, the Cabaret is
their big one.
So, the music is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Renee Zellweger, Renee Zellweger was excellent, but Catherine Zeta-Jones is, like, on another level.
Yeah. And I think it's because, I don't know, like, I haven't seen Renee Zellweger in Judy, which is what she won her Best Actress for when she did the Judy Garland concert. But, like, Catherine Zeta-Jones is a trained Broadway, not West End, I guess, is what she did. But, like, she's
from Wales, right?
Yes, yeah. She's Welsh. And, like, you can tell. Like Richard Gere is fine, but you can tell he's a movie star in a musical, not a musical theater actor in a musical.
I didn't realize that she was the West End. Like the West End musicals, like that was her background.
Yeah, that was sort of how she.
Because I'm trying to remember what was her big breakthrough.
Mask of Zorro.
Mask of Zorro. That's what it was. Yeah.
And she's beautiful.
Yeah.
And they're both really, really good in this movie. I think Catherine Zeta-Jones is better, but, like, not by much.
Yeah, except the dancing. I feel like her dancing and some of that. What's her one big number where she's just the dancing is
All That Jazz, the opening, or the I Can't Do It Alone.
I think it's I Can't Do It Alone. Yeah. There's just some of the dancing stuff, the acrobatics that she does is just unbelievable. Of course, it had who played Mama?
Queen Latifah.
Queen Latifah was
good.
Who was awesome.
Christian Baranski is Mrs. Sunshine.
Yeah.
So
what's interesting is, story about Chicago. Margaret accompanied a high school production of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know what the high school production looks like, but I know that they had to tweak quite a bit.
Chicago Junior.
Yeah. But I keep thinking about, I have to go back and ask Margaret about that, because I keep thinking about, like, it's when I was watching, it was like, how do you do this in a high, especially the demands of the roles.
Yeah.
But, anyway.
So yeah, and I guess to me, like, I saw it in the theaters when it came out. I had seen it on Broadway twice, with Bebe Neuwirth, and I saw it twice. And I think when I saw it in the theaters, I compared it really unfavorably to the musical. And because the musical is fantastic. And, like, this time watching it, I'm like, this is actually really, really good. And I still liked it when it came out, but I think I liked it more this time.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, all the performances are, I think, really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
liked it better this time because I have a better understanding because of you and all that you've exposed me to, of, like, Fosse and, having seen Cabaret and falling in love with Cabaret and just understanding the context makes it so much more enjoyable. And so I enjoyed it much more this time. Because it was 2002. So I was that was 2 years out of college for me.
Right.
So I was 25.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure I went and saw it in the theater and thought it was cool, but didn't have any of the context.
Yeah. So I really liked it. Again, it was just like kind of like, oh, this is super fun. And yeah, when I kind of look at the other movies, I would say I think The Hours is a better movie.
Okay.
But we can watch that too. And I've not seen The Pianist, so maybe we can like do a little like
cultural exchange
2002 recap and be like, okay, what do you think?
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, of those movies that are nominated, I've watched the Two Towers the most.
Right.
I've seen, but like that's
and The Gangs of New York, is that a Leo DiCaprio?
Mm-hmm.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Who's the guy? He's Irish, I think. Daniel Day-Lewis is in it too.
Oh, okay.
And,
all right.
and also a really badly miscast Cameron Diaz.
Oh no.
I'm an Irish girl.
Oh no.
She's okay.
No. Okay, let's talk about
Swept Away.
A horrible movie. I mean, yes, the movie was bad, but like it made me uncomfortable.
So this was a very
it made me uncomfortable.
Unpleasant movie to watch.
It was unpleasant.
But it was 89 minutes long.
True.
So I would say, Swept Away.
Somebody in our one of the comments I did see is somebody said, "Oh, I really liked The Postman. Thank you for reminding me of that movie." And so I felt a little bad because we were pooping all over it, but this is really just our opinions, and we like to be a little dramatic because that's the people that we are. And so if you really liked Swept Away.
I don't think anyone liked Swept Away.
I don't think anyone liked it.
I really...
God, it was so awful. It made me... Okay, sorry.
Okay, so, Swept Away, starring Madonna, directed by Guy Ritchie, who was her husband at the time. It cost $10 million to make. It made $1 million, less than $1 million. A couple of funny things about it. It was filmed between...
Did we explain that the worst movie, we're basing that on
the Razzies?
The Golden Raspberries, nicknamed the Razzies.
Right.
My dad didn't know what the Razzies were, and so it's comes out the same time as the Oscars.
Yep.
I think we've talked about that before. But
so it was filmed in the fall of 2001, which is I think it was right after 9/11. So that was kind of a sort of interesting about it.
Yeah.
So let's see.
And I think it was filmed in Malta
and Sardinia.
Yeah.
So, a couple of fun things about it. Let's see. So as far as again, it was based on a 1974 film by Lina Wertmüller, who is a Italian cinema darling. And the 1974 movie...
I mean, Wertmüller. That's a very Italian name. Yeah.
I mean, there's the Germans in the North of Italy.
I'm just kidding.
So the original movie, the reviews are amazing. People are like, the Italian version. This is Roger Ebert 4 stars. It was nominated for Best Foreign Picture. That you read about the original one and people are like, this is an astonishing film. And it's all about these political ideas and stuff like that, blah, blah. And the remake is just...
So let's just get the uncomfortable part out of the way. So there was a significant... So part of the...
So do you want to do the quick plot summary?
Did we do that with Chicago? We didn't. We don't need to go back and do it, but we should give the 30-second blurb.
Yeah. So the plot of the movie is Madonna and a bunch of her rich friends are on this yacht. And she is awful. She's mean to the staff, she throws fits, she's degrading to people, and especially is targeted to the chef on the boat, who is super hot.
No, he's not the chef.
No, he's the fisher.
He's the fisherman.
Yeah, he catches. He's kind of the boat. He catches the fish, and he's a thing.
Yeah.
So she's really mean to him, and this whole thing I'm your employer. You do what I want to do. I can say whatever I want to you. Then they get shipwrecked through a series of crazy events. And they end up on a desert island in the Mediterranean together. And the tables are turned. So he's like, you have no skills.
Because he's able to get their food.
Yeah. And he's like, you have to be...
He can make fire.
I'm going to treat you like you treated me. Fair enough.
And in the Italian movie, it's very clear that he's a communist in his political beliefs.
Right.
And she's a capitalist.
Right.
And so the Italian movie kind of is about that conversation.
Right. I don't know if people have seen Triangle of Sadness.
Oh, yeah.
So Triangle of Sadness, which was actually nominated for Best Picture this year, is...
Oh my god, I just realized
It's the same movie.
The parallels between...
I mean, I think it's actually a direct take on the original movie. Because it's about, like, rich people, poor people. The rich people get stranded, and the poor person to make their food, and sort of the tables are turned. Yeah. So anyway, they get on the beach together. He treats her like, you do what I said, I am your master.
Yeah, just tell the plot and then we'll get into that.
So, like, he's awful to her in the way that she is awful to him, but they sort of fall in love, or I don't know what they fall in love or not, but there's this idea they sort of develop romantic feelings for each other, and then they're rescued. And once they're rescued, they end up going their separate ways.
Right. The uncomfortable part comes when they get to the island and he is abusive to her.
Right.
He beats her.
Right.
Slaps her.
There's an attempted rape.
That
he decides that he doesn't want to do. He wants her to fall in love with him.
And eventually they do have sex.
And eventually they do fall in love.
It's like forces her to call him master and kiss his feet.
Yeah.
And it's so line crossing and unnecessary.
Well, and I feel like, I think they're trying to do, and again, I didn't see the original, but like, I think they're trying to do a parallel, like, she is pretty awful to him on the boat. Verbally awful. But yeah, I think there's that whole thing, like, and again, there is a crossing a line, especially with like sexual assault and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it feels like the movie. So like he basically, there's a scene where he tries to rape her on the beach, and he's like, "Oh, but I'm not gonna force myself on you because I want you to love me." And then
because he does want him to love her.
Wants her to love him. And then she sort of comes and is like, "Oh, I do love you. Thanks." And it's just gross.
It's very gross. I mean, it feels to me like when they do fall in love, it's a Stockholm Syndrome thing.
Yeah. But the movie, I think maybe in the original movie, it's more ambiguous about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we haven't seen it. So
I haven't seen the original movie. Because like, I feel like if you had a movie where, and part of it, like, you know, I'm a Madonna booster. I think she gets a lot of shit she doesn't deserve. But she's not a good actor. If you had a better actress in this movie... I'm sorry, that sounds mean.
No, but you made the point when we were watching the movie that literally, when she is when she's acting, it's, you know, she's like chewing the scenery.
Yeah.
It's like watching a high schooler do a play. But then when there's a musical number, when she's performing musically, it's like a different person.
Yeah.
It is why she's so famous and
right.
why she's so well known
yeah.
and why she's been so successful is
right.
because when she's singing and dancing and all of that kind of
she's amazing.
It's completely believable.
Right.
But as an actress, it's like, oh.
Right. And I was like thinking about this because other people in this movie are, so Adriana Gianni is the main love interest, and he's the son of the person from the original movie.
In the same role.
Yeah. Bruce Greenwood's in it.
And who's that?
Her husband. On the boat.
No. I mean, who is he as a person?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Just some dude in a lot of movies.
Okay.
Jean Triplehorn's in it.
Yes.
I feel like if Jean Triplehorn had been in the Madonna role, it might have been a good movie.
Yeah. Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe it might have been still been shitty.
I think she's too... I think she's too tall, and
right, you don't ever, yeah.
The person needs to be a little.
But like, so like they had, so like one of the
looking.
things that, so like when she's being meet on the boat, like this movie works if you understand the Madonna character hates themselves, right?
Right.
If you get like sense of like self-loathing, like she's being awful to this person, but there's a deep-seated like self-loathing and hate, then you can sort of forgive the character for what she's doing on the boat. And I got Jean Triplehorn when she was drunk and mean. I'm like, oh, I get that.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, Elizabeth Banks is in it.
Yeah.
And I think this is like probably her first big role.
Yeah. She was really enjoyable in it.
She was fun. A couple other things about it. So in the Razzies, it won Worst Picture. It won Worst Actress, but she tied with Britney Spears from Crossroads.
Okay.
Worst Screen Couple.
Yep.
Worst Remake or Sequel. And then Worst Director.
And I think we've said this before, but the Razzies often makes up categories. Like, they don't stick to a slate of
They
categories.
will certainly do things.
They will make stuff up. So, one thing, I don't know...
So, I want to do one more thing about Razzies.
Well, I was going to ask about the Razzies, but
okay.
go ahead.
So, Madonna is the only person to have won a Worst Actress and Worst Supporting Actress in the same year. She won Worst Supporting Actress for her role in Die Another Day.
In this year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which I think is bullshit.
Die Another Day is the...
James Bond movie with... it's Pierce Brosnan and Halle Berry.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I feel like that's a little bit of a pile-on because she's in that movie. She's like, hello, James. She's the fencing instructor. Let's fence. And that's pretty much... She's not a supporting actress. She's a cameo.
Okay.
So I feel like that seems like them being kind of shitty.
Yeah.
The other worst movies of the year were The Adventures of Pluto Nash. Nominees, sorry. Adventures of Pluto Nash.
I've never even heard of that.
It's an Eddie Murphy film, maybe? Okay. I can't remember. Crossroads, which I've never seen.
I don't know if I've seen it or not.
All I know that I'm no longer a girl, but I'm not yet a woman.
That's a really good... The dance remix of that song is really good.
I would sit down and watch Crossroads with you at some point.
I am only going to watch Crossroads if we can have Chris Bolt over.
Of course. With our friend who is even snarkier than us.
And he's really good to watch movies.
The Robert Benigni Pinocchio. He won Worst Actor. Attack of the Clones.
Oh, Attack of the Clones is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Yeah. And the other worst couple were Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman. Attack of the Clones. Which I feel like that is as bad as they were in this one, they are worse than Attack of the Clones. I feel like the Razzies got it wrong.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But the sexual assault.
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally.
And so, okay, I want to be clear. The movies can have... I don't think that movies shouldn't have something in it because it's politically incorrect. Like a sexual assault or whatever. Yeah. I'm not saying that you have to it doesn't need to make everything politically correct. That is not what I'm saying. But it's done distastefully. It doesn't move the plot along. It's gratuitous.
It moves the plot along in a really terrible way.
Right.
And
it undercuts the love story.
I would agree. And I think in a stronger movie, you would have ambiguity about the love story, where it's like, actually, this is about two terrible people who are in a terrible situation, and they, abuse each other in each one. And in the original movie, I think it's more like, she's like, I don't know what the original movie's like, but it'd be like, yeah, no, that was Stockholm that.
I'm gonna have to beat that.
Yeah, no.
But
I don't, having not seen the original, like, I feel like
the thing is too, I do feel that the characters are really two-dimensional.
Oh yeah.
So
I would say they're actually one-dimensional.
They're just a point. So, because the reason I think that's important to bring up in this context is because I lost my train of thought.
Basically, she's really mean and he's really hot. Is really...
No. What I was going to say is, from the perspective of these characters being two-dimensional, he shows no remorse.
Oh, no.
I think it would make more sense if he tried to force himself on her because they're both drunk and they're in this situation. I'm not saying that any of this excuses it, but I'm just saying, like, it would make more sense if they were on the beach and they were drunk, and then, like, he has this moment of remorse or this moment
but it was clearly a...
It was just like, I'm gonna...
It was a clearly power punishment thing.
Yeah.
And then, like, his reason for not doing is, like, no, I want more power.
Well, and then he just kept hitting her.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the other thing, is he kept hitting her.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So anyway, what I would say about Swept Away is...
Summarize for us.
It's 89 minutes of unpleasantness. And, like, I'm saying you can't have movies about, sexual assault. You should have movies about sexual assault. You should have movies about class and, like, people being terrible to you. Like, that, I think that's... But I think it needs to be done in a way that is...
Bringing it back to what you said earlier. This concept of class divide, political spectrum of communism or not just political, but socioeconomic
and class,
communism versus capitalism is done well in the triangle.
Yes, it is.
It's basically the same. It's on a yacht, like you said earlier. Yeah. This was done better in the triangle.
Yeah.
This
and which makes you think that the Triangle of Sadness takes the 1974 movie.
The Triangle of Sadness, that's right.
As its inspiration. Yeah. So
anyway,
what I would say is, if you're out there and you're looking for movie recommendations, watch Chicago.
Yes.
I would say, and I haven't, so I can't recommend it, but I would say if you want to watch Swept Away, I think the 1974 version would be a better choice.
Yeah, since everybody says that it's great.
So,
but yeah, it's and again, it was 89 minutes long, but there were periods where I'm like knitting on my sock or whatever, and I'm like, is this movie still on?
Yeah.
So anyway. All right. Well, that was our movie reviews.
Yes.
We had a lot of fun doing it.
So, should we find out what we're doing next year?
Oh, yeah, we're going to do that. Let me pull this up.
Okay. 2011.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So, it's the 2011 Razzies Oscars versus the 2010 movies.
So, we get to watch a movie that I have no interest in watching.
Uh-huh.
It's animated.
No, is it?
Oh, maybe not.
No, I think it's live action.
Oh, no.
I know.
I don't want to watch this one.
Ooh, it'll be fine.
Okay, so we're watching, for the worst picture, we're watching The Last Airbender. Which I have zero. I mean, like, it's not even going to be a fun hate watch. Okay.
And I feel like if we knew more about... I've not watched any... So The Last Airbender is based on...
For the best picture, we're watching The King's Speech.
Yeah.
Which I've seen, I think, twice.
Okay.
And I love it. Cool.
So Last Airbender, directed by M. Night Shyamalan.
And The King's Speech.
I mean, it'll be a...
We have to get through it. This is our plan.
This is our plan. And, like, I feel like... I wish I... So, I don't... So everyone says for Avatar The Last Airbender is the animated TV show is amazing.
Right.
People love it. And apparently the movie is just an abomination.
I have a friend who has like an emotional connection to this franchise. And he has, from his thigh to his ankle, spiraling around his leg, like all these characters from The Last Airbender.
Yeah, not the anime.
Not the movie.
So.
All right, so hope everybody's enjoyed this episode. We're going to go suffer through a couple movies and do some knitting, and we'll come back and talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.